among the best, perhaps the greatest quarterback to ever play the game, and among the greatest athletes of the 20th century, Johnny Unitas. The award that bears his name is presented to the nation's top college senior quarterback, one of the most prized trophies in college football. This year, 5 extraordinary athletes are among the nation's elite, but only one will be named the best. Join us as we present this year's winner of the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award.
Hi everybody, I'm Bob Sokoler, and welcome to the 14th annual Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award presentation here on Fox Sports Net. Throughout the years, the Unitas name has stood for excellence, both on and off the football field. Many of the past winners have gone on to successful careers in professional football, but perhaps more important is their success off the field. This is what the Golden Arm Award is all about, honoring the character of the man, as well as athletic and academic success. 5 young college senior quarterbacks made the cut as finalists for this year's award. You'll learn a little bit more about them and join us as Johnny Unitas presents the Golden Arm Award to this year's winner. Stay tuned. We'll be back to introduce you to the finalists and reminisce with the legend himself. And welcome back to the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award here on Fox Sport Net. As I said earlier, 5 college senior quarterbacks were in the running for the Golden Arm Award. Here's our first finalist from the state of West Virginia.
Chad Pennington led Marshall to a perfect 12-0 season, including a last-second touchdown pass to win the Mid-America Conference Championship. He is considered a coach on the field, calling his own plays, and it's paid off. Pennington will lead the Thundering Herd to its 3rd straight appearance in the Motor City Bowl and is considered one of the top picks in next year's NFL Draft.
We are in the Bell South Johnny Unitas Football Museum in the Johnny Unitas wing, and look who happens to be here. It's Johnny Unitas. Good to see you, sir.
Oh, Bob, good to see you. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here. A lot of folks are always thrilled to have you here in the area, and certainly the wing behind us here. So many memories, and it all goes back to your first days at the University of Louisville.
Yeah, goes all the way back. There's Otto Knapp and I at the center, and a lot of memories running through here. Mm-hmm.
I heard through the grapevine that when you first arrived at the University of Louisville, you were all of 150...
About 135, 40 pounds, yeah.
And there was a letter that was sent from your parents. Is that true? Take care of our Johnny? Is that true?
I don't. You'd have to ask Coach Get about that one. He may know more about it.
I don't embarrass you.
But when I first walked out on the field, Coach Kemp thought I was the water boy.
You were a small guy. You really were.
Oh, yeah. I was actually refused at Notre Dame because of my size. I was there working out. Bernie Crimmins was the assistant head coach up there at the time, and he said, "I like everything that you do." He said, "But you're so small, you won't last, you know." And he said, "Besides, we may be accused of manslaughter by the time we get you out of here." So when I came down to university and started working down here, the funny thing about that was about 3 years later, Bernie went from Notre Dame to Indiana University as head coach, and came down here and tried to get me to leave university, come up there.
Boy, was he sorry then. Yeah, no kidding about that. Yeah. You know, looking at some of this memorabilia, I mean, there's the memories we mentioned. Something that occurs to me, and maybe you can tell us a little about it. Back in your years, in the very beginning years and through college and even into pro, the equipment that you wore doesn't seem to have been as protective, obviously, as it is today. I mean, is it just a...
Well, you're right, because everything improves with age normally, because of new conditioning, the way they condition equipment, the way they build it and everything else. Now they have flak jackets for quarterbacks, almost like having a bulletproof vest.
Yeah.
And we never possessed. Says you had a pair of shoulder pads and maybe rib pads, hip pads and thigh pads, and that was it. And the helmets were, good helmets, but you never had the face mask on them, so you played without that. But everything improves, hopefully.
Well, getting sacked, though, back in those days, that
hasn't improved at all. That's still the name of the game. Get the quarterback.
But at least now there is some protection. Back then, you were a sitting target, weren't you?
Yeah, it was a lot different ball game than it is now. It's quarterback's protected a lot more, and you're not really allowed to get a shot at the quarterback. You know, so you can't take so many steps or something. And then the rule changes have helped the game as far as protecting the quarterback. They've widened the game, let the game become more wide open with the passing game. You can't touch outside receivers after 5 yards.
Yeah.
You can't, now they open up pass protection, now you use your hands. So I think it's, to me, I mean, although it's helped probably as far as injuries are concerned, I think it's watered the game down a little bit. Because
for the better or for the
you don't
worse?
Well, I think for the worse, because you don't have to have as much ability to play the game. Professionally, I'm talking about now. Because now they just push and shove. Before, you have to maintain control of the guy within your elbows. Otherwise, your arms come out this way, boom, it's a 15-yard penalty already. So I don't think you have to have as much ability to play the game that you did one time.
How about the coaches in your life? Anybody that stands out? I mean, obviously they played a big, important part.
Yeah, I've had tremendous coaches. I think from high school, I had a guy by the name of Max Carey, who instilled a lot into me and gave me my head and told me that I was a boss on the field, that you just do what you think is the right thing to do. But I tell you one thing, when I ask you why you did that, you damn sure better have an answer. Well, when I came down here, I had Coach Gitcher, who was just as mean and nasty as this guy was, and Coach Camp, who I thought, to me, knew more football than anybody that I ever visited with, even professionally. I think he could have coached professional football when he was, back in those eras without any problem at all. We ran just about every kind of formation you could think of down here at the University of Louisville. He didn't have much to work with. Probably maybe 28 scholarships at one time, and then I think it dwindled down to maybe 5 when I was getting out of school. Matter of fact, in my junior year, we had a few players. We had a scrimmage one side of the line at a time. That's how many people we had, and that was about it. But he was great. Weeb Eubank was terrific. Weeb, again, he had some idiosyncrasies that were kind of hard to swallow, like he didn't want to throw the ball against Night Train Lane. I said, I can't let him have an off night. Are you kidding me? He said, well, he's going to intercept. I said, yeah, well, so what? I said, I might get 3 touchdowns. He might get 1. So what? I'll change 3 for 1. And then they want to throw against Jack Butler. But we changed his mind, saw what we could do with Raymond Berry and the receivers and how hard we worked at doing what we wanted to do. He came over one time after we played a preseason game against Pittsburgh and lost 21-14, but we couldn't throw the ball behind Jack Butler. He said, you can't get behind him. I said, well, but we can throw in front of him. And he just continued to say no. So we just forgot about it till the fourth quarter, just bang, 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 downfield 2 times, scored 14 points, and he was hot. He came over during the game. Raymond and I are walking off the field. He says, come here, you two. I said, yes, sir. I said, comes we're going to hit the fan right now. So he said, I'll never tell you what not to do again.
You bring up your high school coaches playing an important part.
Yeah.
So many times, students at high school or college go on to have great careers or do well in life, and they owe it in the back of their mind to a teacher or a coach. And many times they don't get a chance to go back and thank them for that. Would you suggest to the school students of today to think about down the road going back and finding the teacher that made a difference in their life?
Oh, most definitely. I think that any time, well, first of all, in order to be a good coach, you have to be a teacher. I don't think you can be coach without being a teacher first, because that's where it's all at. And I think that at any time that if you feel that way and you feel that you should go back, I think you should. There's guys who have had tremendous help to me throughout my lifetime. They weren't necessarily coaches, were maybe business people or something like that. I think it's nice to go back and to remember the guys and say, hey, you were very helpful to me, and I appreciate it.
What a great guy to talk to. And you heard Johnny Unitas refer to Frank Gitcher as mean and nasty. Well, truth be told, he's not. Today, Frank is known for what he has done to help promote the game of football and the education of scholar athletes. Ladies and gentlemen, the chairman of the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Education Foundation, Frank Gitcher.
Thank you. We are celebrating something very special here tonight. We're very aware of what you've done for us and what we're trying to do for you. But you need to know that in a few minutes, Johnny Unitas is going to present the Golden Arm Award winner to this group. But the Frank Camp chapter and the Unitas Foundation do other things, as you saw tonight. We awarded 27 $1,000 scholarships. Why do we do that? Because we want to encourage young men to go get their college education. And we also provide financial aid to 5 youth leagues, as you've seen here again tonight. And we want every one of those youngsters that wants to play football to have the opportunity to do so. In doing that, we have awarded more than $300,000 in the past 13 years. That's what we're all about. You heard us mention Coach Frank Camp. He coached Johnny Unitas. And Coach Camp was a mentor to John Unitas, and as you heard him publicly acclaim what Coach Camp meant to him. Coach is no longer with us, but it's a pleasure for me to introduce to you tonight Nancy Camp.
Thank you, Frank. I have been associated with the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award Foundation since its beginning. My husband was one of the founding members of the local chapter that now bears his name. My family's relationship with Johnny Unitas and his family goes back to the days nearly 50 years ago when Johnny played for Coach Camp at the University of Louisville. Over the years, Johnny has remained close to me and my family, and that we appreciate so very much. We also appreciate Johnny and this committee's effort to remember Coach Camp. Frank would be so thrilled to see how this award has grown into one of the most sought-after honors in college football. Again, thank you so much to the Unitas family, Coach Gitcher, and the Frank Camp chapter for allowing my family and me to be a part of this prestigious award. Thank you.
Our second finalist for the Golden Arm Award has made a name for himself in the record books. Let's take a look.
Louisiana Tech's Tim Rattay led the Bulldogs to an 8-3 record and ranked second on both the NCAA's all-time passing list and the all-time touchdown list. Rattay passed for more than 3,900 yards this season, that despite missing 2 parts of 2 games with an ankle injury. Despite losing their season-ending game to USC, Rattay still passed for more than 400 yards. Expect to hear more from Tim Rattay come the NFL Draft.
Coming up next, our third finalist for the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award, and we'll hear from a former NFL player turned broadcaster. Most of this year's finalists for the Golden Arm Award are from the universities in the South, including this fine young quarterback from Georgia Tech.
Joe Hamilton had the kind of year many quarterbacks just dream about. He set an Atlantic Coast Conference single-season record with nearly 3,800 yards of total offense, tied career league marks by having a hand in 83 touchdowns, and is the all-time league leader in total offense, touchdown passes, and pass efficiency. Hamilton will lead the 8-3 Yellow Jackets into the Gator Bowl against the University of Miami.
And our next guest was the center of attention for 18 years as the center for the Atlanta Falcons. He spent his college career at the University of Kentucky before playing in the NFL. Today, he is the color announcer for the University of Kentucky and Atlanta Falcons football networks. Please welcome six-time Pro Bowler Jeff Van Note.
You grow up in Louisville, and I did go to the University of Kentucky, but you grow up in Louisville as a kid, and you think about sports in Louisville as a kid, and it was, if you like the horses, that was fine too, but it was Charlie Tyree, and it was Wes Unseld in basketball, and it was Pee Wee Reese playing for the Dodgers, and it was Cassius Clay Muhammad Ali if you hung out at the Y and knew about tomorrow's champions and things like that. And it was football. It was Johnny Unitas. I mean, it was Johnny Unitas. You heard the story of walking on and a free agent, and the quarterbacks that beat him out. I can't remember all their names, but one was Jim Finks, and I think Ted Marchibroda, two historic names in NFL play, and there wasn't room for Johnny Unitas. And then Johnny came back to have such a great career, and that's what it was as a kid. If you grew up in Louisville, black high top shoes and that crew cut that were so distinguishable about him. And I think what's nice now is that he's come back and that he lends himself, his name and his persona and his Hall of Fame credentials to such worthy causes here in Louisville, but also for football. Because if you think of Kentucky football, you don't think of it until you start thinking about Johnny Unitas and you start thinking about the Golden Boy, Paul Hornung, and now Kentucky football's had a rebirth in high school, and I think Johnny Unitas has had a lot to do with that.
Thank you, Jeff. You're absolutely right. Well, you may remember 2 years ago, a young quarterback from the University of Tennessee won the Golden Arm Award. This year, another senior quarterback from Tennessee is our fourth finalist.
T. Martin had some big shoes to fill at Tennessee, following former Golden Arm Award winner Peyton Manning. But he did it, including leading Tennessee to the national championship last season. Martin is 22-2 as a starter, including a perfect 13-0 record at home. Martin has one more goal: lead the Vols to victory in the Fiesta Bowl on January 3rd.
And now comes the moment you've been waiting for when we return. Johnny Unitas presents the Golden Arm Award to this year's winner. And welcome back. Well, now he is considered by many to be the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. Ladies and gentlemen, quite simply, the legend, Johnny Unitas.
Thank you, Bob. Every year for the past 12 years, I have been honored to present the Golden Arm Award to the nation's top college senior quarterback. This year, I'm especially honored to present this award to a young man who not only deserves to win, but also represents the school at which I played my college career.
He is a young man that he wants to be coached every down. And I think that's from being raised with, you know, grandfather as a coach, father as a coach, but Chris is an individual that will come to the coaches and he wants to hear feedback every down. He wants to be coached every down that he's out there. He's a great young man, you know. I mean, you can't say enough about him. What he's done for the program, what he's done for the university, what he's done for the community. You can't even put a figure on the amount of good that he has done. Chris is so accurate with the ball, and he's got such a great release. One thing, more so than, I mean, we can talk about how great Chris is and all of these things, but for him to be in the record book as having the most completions in NCAA history, to me, that's reason enough. If you're not the Golden Arm winner for that alone, then something's wrong. I think he's a young man that definitely cherishes and understands that God has given him a lot of talents. and that he is placed in this position, and he's got a responsibility, and he takes care of that responsibility. There's not a time that he would ever turn down an autograph from a young person or to stop and say hi to a young person. He understands the role that he has put in, and God has blessed him with these things, and he'll share with people. He's done so much. I can't tell you the number of times that I'm asked to have him do something, and he'll bend over backwards. We hope not to cry too much once he leaves, but we are going to cry, and we're going to miss him, but things go on, and my life goes on, and he'll be back to help us.
Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, our award winner, Chris Redmond.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd just like to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for blessing me with the ability to play football, but not only to play football, but the important things, which is family, great friends, and a great community to live in. And I really thank him with the bottom of my heart. I'd also like to thank Johnny Unitas and the Johnny Unitas Foundation for giving me this prestigious award, one that I'll truly honor the rest of my life, and it's probably one of the biggest days of my life. Next, I'd like to thank all the coaches in my life. Many of them are here tonight, from youth league all the way up through high school. My high school coach happened to be my father, who was one of the most inspirational persons in my life. And I'd just like to personally thank him and what he's done for me all through my life. Next, I'd like to thank all 12 offensive coordinators I've had in college. No, I'm just joking. I've had a lot of influential people in my life, and I'd like to thank John L. Smith for what he's done for me in these past few years. It's really made an impact in my life. Next, I'd just like to thank my family, who has been there through thick and thin. I wasn't a guy that's played in the national championship game or played in a lot of those big games, but I had to play through a lot of adversities, and I've learned a lot about that. And I think I'll benefit in the future from these experiences and on and off the field. And if I could say one thing to some of these young guys up front, that you have to persevere. It's not going to be an easy walk. You have to be able to work hard at what you're doing, and I guarantee you'll be successful in life. And keep working hard. And again, I'd like to thank everyone here for this great award. And this is one of the best days of my life. Thanks a lot.
And congratulations, Chris Redmond, once again. Did you see him? There was a standing ovation throughout the hall here, and Chris is going to sit down. I think a lot of us believe, Chris, that you're going to need to get used to standing ovations in your career. Well, we want to thank you all for watching and hope to see you next year for the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award. I'm Bob Sokoler. Goodbye, everybody.